Good afternoon and welcome to the Arts and Culture Commission meeting of June 18, 2015. Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Sharikian?
Present.
Oshagan?
Here.
Chairperson Derhovanesian.
Here.
The agenda for the June 18th regular meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on June 15, 2015. Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of meeting minutes from May 28th, 2015.
Make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Thank you.
Commissioners Deaver?
Abstain.
Lee?
Yes.
Sharikian?
Yes.
Oshagan?
Yes.
Chairperson Derhovanesian.
Yes.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. At 3A, John Sloan, Co-Artistic Director of Antia's Theater Company.
Good afternoon, Chair Derhovanesian and Councilors Sharikian, Oshagan, Deaver, and Lee. Thank you very much for your time. It's a privilege to speak to you today. My name is John Sloan. I am a co-artistic director of the Antia's Theater Company. As you may know, we held a wonderful ceremony last Thursday announcing our plans to build a new home for the arts, a new cultural center here in Glendale. The Antia's Theater Company is a collective of some of the finest actors and theater artists in Los Angeles, and we are so excited to be moving here because we know that when a renowned arts organization like Antia's and a city like Glendale, a city that knows the importance of arts and culture to the life of a city, when you have those two elements in place, very special things can happen. Because we believe that every great city deserves great art. Antia's is nationally recognized as one of the best theaters of its size anywhere. Charles McNulty, the chief theater critic of the LA Times, has twice included Antia's productions on his yearly top 10 list of shows, not just in Los Angeles or in the US, but across the world. But in our current space in North Hollywood, there's Glendale resident Kurtwood Smith. Our current space in North Hollywood, we are just bursting at the seams. So we were thrilled to find an empty space at 110 Broadway, just across the street from the Americana, around the corner from Marshall's. And we were doubly thrilled to learn that the owner of the space, Raud Alamin, is a businessman who gets it. He understands what a great theater can add to the vibrancy of a downtown area. And so he was willing to lease his space to a nonprofit theater company. That's one thing it's important to remember about Antia's. We're a nonprofit company. Our actors aren't paid. I'm a volunteer. I'm an actor and a volunteer co-artistic director. So our pursuit clearly isn't profit, but rather the pursuit of great art in the service of a community. Our space, and you see the view from across the street, was designed by renowned theater architect John Sergio Fisher. It's 7,600 square feet, and it will allow us to grow. Here you have a view of the lobby. The whole space is designed to be welcoming as a gathering place. If you notice, we'll have a fair amount of wall space, and our hope is to use that as gallery space for local artists to exhibit their works on a rotating basis. So you have not just the theatrical arts, but the visual arts present at all times. When you enter the lobby and look to the left, you will see our theater library, the doors to our theater library, and here's an image of what that will look like. What makes Antia's unique is that we do so much more than put on productions. This is our theater library. We have close to 6,000 volumes of plays, memoirs, biographies, acting books, design books, and we're hoping this is a great opportunity to partner with your fabulous performing arts library. And it also serves, as you can see, as a wonderful gathering place for audience members after the show to meet the actors and talk and to really be a part of the company. The first of the spaces is a smaller 45-seat black box space because in addition to the library, we run an academy where we train the next generation of actors. We also have the Antaeus Playwrights Lab where writers work with Antaeus actors to develop their plays and hopefully to create the new classics. So this space will serve not only as a performance space but as a classroom space and a meeting place as well. And here, the jewel in the crown is our 80-seat performance space, which was designed to maintain an intimate, visceral experience of the plays. It's very important to us that the audience feel involved. A play is never done. It's not completed. It's not really a play until it's had an audience. The audience is really the most important element in creating the experience. So there will never be a bad seat in the house. In addition to that, I wanted to talk about our arts ed programs because with these extra seats, we'll be able to get kids from the schools in to see our productions. A few years back when I performed in King Lear, actors from the production went out to local schools and met with kids who were reading the play in school. We did scenes for them, discussed the characters' motivations, what Shakespeare was after when he was writing the play, and then the kids got to come see the show, and that just takes the experience of reading these plays and takes it to a whole nother level and really makes it a wonderful experience. We also worked with incarcerated youth as well in a theater performance and writing program, helping these kids learn to tell their own stories and letting them see the value of that. And then their experience culminates in a performance at our theater in front of a live audience. So I hope that gives you a little taste of what we're about at Antaeus. What I'd love to leave you with is this idea of community. We're not doing this for ourselves, but for the community in this age when where our noses are all in our phones and on the internet. We value that interpersonal connection of a group of people getting together to talk and experience live storytelling. Live theater is the real social media. So I thank you again for your time, and I invite you to come see us at Antaeus. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
I just want to say that I had the pleasure of attending your groundbreaking ceremony.
Oh,
and
great.
It was just thrilling to feel the exuberance within the audience and both the welcoming of our Glendale community to you all and your excitement about making this your new home. I've been
Absolutely.
following this for the past couple of years and since the genesis. I'm really pleased that it's happened and really thrilled with the multi-level approach that you bring to the theater. I have a background in theater.
Oh, great.
Well, so that's my training and such. So I understand the world. I kind of know what's going on in the world here in Los Angeles in particular. But so I'm thrilled about the educational component, the community outreach component that I know you're dedicated to, and the quality performance, and it will just enrich our community. And I really appreciate your being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think this is really a great project. Since the Noise Within left Glendale, there's been sort of a vacuum that you're filling, and it seems like you're going to fill it in an extremely good way. And I think I've seen a play at Antaeus many years ago in North Hollywood. But I think this is an amazing thing that you're doing, and welcome to Glendale. I just had a couple of technical questions.
Sure.
So 80-seat theater, isn't it 99 sort of the limit that usually, and just for my own information, that's one question I had. Plus, what's your model for generating your nonprofit, but do you raise money constantly, or the ticket sales cover your costs? Just how is it that you operate, just in general?
You're right, 99-seat is the cap, and had we the room, had we the space here, we probably would have put every single one of those 99 seats in there. But at 7,600 square feet, and in order to have the capacity to do the classes and the playwrights lab and to have our library, which is so vital to us, this is what the architect recommended. Every inch of the space is going to be used in the service of art. So that's why the 80 seats. But when you count the 45 and the other one, right now we can do 3 productions a year, but conceivably down the road we can do 5 and 6 and have 2 shows running at the same time, different events in different spaces going at the same time. So really you could look at our capacity at 125. We rely primarily on contributed income as a nonprofit theater space. We, of course, need ticket income to help keep us going. Our academy, where we train the next generation of actors, is also a revenue-generating prospect. But if I showed you our to-do list right now, right at the top would be our Play On capital campaign to execute these beautiful plans. We're going to raise $1 million to make this dream a reality. And as we grow, and that's one of the reasons we needed to move to this space as well, not only to increase our seating capacity, we only have 49 seats where we are now. So just that limit of people seeing your productions and knowing what you do and coming through your doors limits the amount of money you can raise and the exposure you have. But as our track record grows, we are able to write grants and approach foundations as well to help support our work. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like?
Yeah.
Would you like first?
Would you please tell us a little bit about the organization structure, the board, the membership, so we can have a grand...
Absolutely. We have a very active and enthusiastic board chaired by David Gindler, who is one of the chief arts philanthropists in the city. The board is made up of community members as well as actors from the company. There are approximately 150 actor members of the company. That is part of the ethos of the company, that it's not a top-down. I'm not a dictator, artistic director, one person telling everyone what to do. So really the art is generated from the company and from the actors. Our board is growing every day. We have over 20 members on our board. Don't quote me on that number exactly. And we also have a staff. We have an executive director, as well as a company manager, and a marketing and development executive as well.
Have a limited staff, basically.
We do. We have 3 staff members.
Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you for picking Glendale. I hope if you do have larger productions, and see if you can partner up with the Alex Theater. This way, at least you have a venue to larger venue to be able to utilize.
Yes, I met Alyssa Glickman over at the
good
groundbreaking. Yeah.
Because I think there should be a lot of symbiosis there to be able to help each other out.
Yes, I think so too.
Good.
I also met Bianca Bagaturian, who's the head of the Armenian Dramatic Arts Alliance, at the groundbreaking. She seemed fantastic as well, so there ought to be ways we can collaborate there.
Good.
Wow, so.
Thank you.
Well, I would like to thank you for coming here, for giving the information. I've not been a trained actor, but from age 8, I think I was on the stage, because from the time I noticed that there's a stage and there could be an audience, I loved it. And later
I know the feeling.
And later on, being in the field of education, I used to train kids to do with the GATE program to bring plays on, and we did Nutcrackers Ballet as a play form and lots of different stuff. So it is my passion. I love absolutely whatever happens on the stage and how it comes to the audience. I also am so grateful that yours has these components of educating and getting our youngsters. I think that would take you a long way also, because there are many youngsters who love that, and they absolutely need that coaching and training and that professional background. So belonging to your organization could help a lot of our youngsters, especially high school kids, and it could direct them into how they need to be expressed and how they can express whatever is around them in the world. So that's a fantastic program. The combination of all the components that you have, it makes it much closer to my heart, because, again, as an educator and behaviorist, I think that really would be a phenomenal thing for the community. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Okay. Next item.
At 3B, Library Arts and Culture events presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Just turn my mic on. Of course, we've got our summer reading program. We've added a partnership with the Glendale Unified School District where children 18 and under can get a free lunch at the Central Library 5 days a week in the morning. So that's a real good program. Threadbare is our newest show at the Brand Library, and tonight there's Artists in Conversation. And then this Friday we have Neptune Cocktail, a surf rock band of real interesting professionals. That's going to be June 19th, 5 p.m. at the Brand Library, and that is part of the Arts and Culture Commission's outdoor plaza series at the Brand Library. The rest of this month we have a singer-songwriter, Wendy Sue Hunt, on the 26th. July 3rd, a Wyman Project, very eclectic kind of rhythm section plus string quartet. Cloudwalkers, some real fun guys who do vocal harmony, pop songs, jazz. We've got a group from Tahunga. They have they study and work on gamelan music from Bali. We have a klezmer ensemble in July. They're going to be a lot of fun. And then we'll finish up July with a local performer, Judy Walker. She's really well known in the jazz community here and internationally. She'll finish up July. At Brand, the Brand Associates music series continues at the end of July with Trio Celeste. Really, that's a fine trio. They're recently appointed artists in residence at the University of California, Irvine, and they're also directors of Irvine's Summer Academy for Chamber Music. Really fine trio. And you may know we have a renovation coming up at the Central Library. We'll have a furniture sale starting on July 11th. It'll run for 5 days, and every day the prices will go down. So that'll be fun. That's put on by our friends of the library. And then we are hoping to have what we're calling a groundbreaking celebration for the Central Library renovation on Thursday, July 16th. I hope you can all attend at 11 o'clock. There will be, besides yourselves, there will be a number of special guests. We like to think of them as book characters, and perhaps they're never former, but he would be a president of the United States. Long gone. He's a reenactor that they probably know up at Antias. So those are a number of the programs that we've got coming up in July.
Very good, excellent. Next.
Item 4, oral communications. Discussion is limited to 2 items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The Commission may refer the matter to City staff for investigation and report.
Well, Arlene Widor was here, and I wish she could have stayed a little bit longer because it's fantastic whatever she does in our community, but I think Chuck is going to delegate whatever. No, not really?
Well, she might be coming back. Maybe she just stepped up.
No? Because I think she waved kind of like a bye. She was rushing. She had to be in another meeting, but, oh well, if she comes later on, maybe we could accommodate. Would that be okay? Okay, that's great. Let's go to the next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, action item. At 5A1, motions recommending Commission approve a request for proposals for event management consultant to plan and execute a 2-day open studio tour event, and assign 2 commissioners to the selection committee.
Chair Derhovanesian and commissioners, the staff is requesting that the Commission approve this motion that we worked on at the last meeting, a request to post a request for proposals to select a consultant to plan and execute a 2-day open studio tour event. And along with that, we're requesting that Commission select 2 commissioners to the selection committee to review and select the open studio tour consultant. The consultant will serve as the 2-day open studio tour event manager and coordinate with the city and its staff, community organizations, and volunteers. And as the city would like to develop an open studio event, the consultant is required to conduct through research to select dates no later than April 2016 and identify appropriate artists to meet those goals. In addition, the consultant will be required to serve as a project manager to successfully and efficiently perform all services and provide deliverables identified in the RFP. Finally, the consultant is expected to be creative in not only development of the event, but in their approach to addressing practical issues that may surface during the term of the contract. The fiscal impact is $15,000 from your plan, and the work would be execute a 2-day open studio tour. And I've included one exhibit. It's the request for proposal for the event management consultant open studio tour.
Okay. Is there any comments or last questions or anything that needs to be added to this?
I have a question.
Okay.
When this announcement will be out there? I mean, is it the end of the June or July, or timing-wise, when it's going to happen?
We want to try and get it back in our hands by the end of July, so it would be out for approximately a month.
Okay.
So we'd put it out.
And it's going to be on our website, the city?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
The city website, social media, press releases, and so forth.
Now, question, should we kind of make a motion on that, or do we need to elect or choose our commissioners who want to participate?
Chair Vanessian, excuse me. Once the commission is through, talking about the if the RFP is acceptable, then you could move on to the nominations.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do I have?
I have still some comments, actually.
Sure.
Thanks. Actually, there are comments and/or questions. So, and maybe a little bit nitpicky, so I apologize in advance. But on the first page, scope of work 3A. Just for clarification, for instance, under event marketing, we're talking about them coordinating promotional materials, coordinating creative event marketing. I presume that they're also producing content and or implementing, but per the RFP, it sounds more like it's unclear who's responsible for, to me, at least in a cursory reading.
Okay, at least the way I understood this, that they'd be coming up with the concept and what they wanted to do, and we city staff would help promote that. So we have access to all of our channels, but I'll need content. I'll need to know what to say.
So I'm just wondering, for somebody, if responding to the proposal, if they might have a difficulty in putting together, say, a budget, if they don't know whether they are doing the artwork, say, for a poster, or they are coordinating, or in what they're implementing and what they're coordinating. So I just was looking for a little bit more clarity on that, just from the perspective of a proposer.
Could I get back on that to you? Because as it was discussed, it was decided that commission would have no part as far as helping them financially with those things. So it seems it has to come out of their pocket for putting whatever they need to do.
So what I'm saying is that, at least in my reading of it, and if I'm missing something, like I said, I read it kind of quickly, but if I were proposing on it, I would be unclear about what is coming out of my $15,000 budget and what is not, and what my responsibility. And maybe the proposal is to say these are the responsibilities I will assume for this contract amount, and will get coordinated and approved with the city. But otherwise, I just feel like we might get proposals that are all kind of all over the board if we're not clear about what our expectations are on the front side of that. So I was just a little concerned about that, what I would call a vagueness in a proposal, or an RFP rather.
All right.
I don't mean to make anybody's lives more difficult.
No, not at all.
No, these are all good questions.
May I add also something to it?
Yeah.
We probably need a guideline of what the expectations are based on the consultant. Those are the things that we expect the consultant will do, and those are the things that the city will do or us. So if we have a clear, like a job description for each one of us, then the proposals, the consultant will have what he can do within that budget.
Right.
That will be a good idea.
And following up on that, there's another area in here. I have a few other comments, but one of them was we refer to the proposal, I think, being scored or evaluated on the context of meeting goals and objectives of the RFP. But when I go back to say, okay, what are the goals and objectives? There isn't a section that actually says these are the goals and objectives of the city and of the commission for this project. So that felt a little bit vague to me. So those two things might go in together. And I'm just going to go down. If they have questions about what I'm trying to say, let me know. But so on this page 2, under B, event talent, and I wasn't part of the discussion when this was at the last meeting, so I apologize if I'm restating things that have already been talked about. But I'm wondering if we can broaden we have a broad category, so we're talking about event talent, which is fairly broad, and then we define it as Glendale artists. So one question is, I wasn't sure if that means we were only participation from Glendale artists or others if they're sharing a studio space or something like that. I just wasn't clear I don't know if that was discussed or not as part of our meeting.
Could we go, one by one on some of the items that we have already discussed, so we could bring you to the page. As far as the quality and content, that was a concern that was discussed but was not finalized, as far as is there a theme and etc. Then the other issue is that as far as the money and budget, assumingly based on what was approved, was that $15,000 would cover all the expenses for the consultant and all the expenses that the consultant would take upon himself or herself. So money-wise, $15,000 is the limit. As far as the choice and the quality and content, that's another issue which was kind of left open, which if it is okay, we could discuss today. Is that fine?
Is it the selection of the artists?
For the selection of the artists, as far as the quality. But as far as being Glendale artists, yes, if an artist has a gallery here and works or shares a gallery with a Glendale artist, could be considered a Glendale artist. But assumingly this is for the Glendale artists, basically. That's what our understanding was.
Was that the consensus at the last, I just wasn't at the last meeting, so I didn't know. Is that what?
Well, they either have to live in Glendale or have a studio or something to do with Glendale. I mean, what are the other options then?
Well, somebody who might have a friend that has a studio in Eagle Rock, and they would like to come and sell their work or promote their work at the studio, or it might, but it's maybe not a gallery that would be typically representing other artists outside of Glendale. So I just wasn't sure if we were specifically saying only participants, at least the participants on whatever form they fill out or however they register have to be Glendale-based as a resident or as a business owner, or if I wasn't sure. That's
based on the precedent. It used to be Glendale-based or those who reside. Now, if the commissioners would want to broaden that, that's another story. Can we do that today, or are we allowed to do that? Sure. Okay. So if commissioners, yes.
Well, in the past, we have allowed outside artists if they were in a restaurant that wanted to promote. Because I checked on that, and I actually got a few outside artists who were associated with some of the restaurants, and the restaurants were allowing them to put their artwork there for the show. So I would open it up. I mean, like I said again, we already have. To me, that would be a plus for the merchant at least. Normally, they don't have artwork there, and now they're going to. If somebody wants to partner up with them and put artwork in there, it'll give them an opportunity to showcase their restaurant along with an artist, but being that their business is in LA. In Glendale. Sorry.
Okay, so what does everybody else think on that?
I would like to see if we have some type of rules and regulations. I don't know how to put it, but we need to have a classification. if an artist lives in Glendale, then he qualifies, for example. Or if he's a student in Glendale or works in Glendale, some type of classification so we can differentiate between an artist from Compton or West LA or whatever it is. And I don't know who's going to do this. I mean, do we do this, or the consultant put those rules and regulations, or the staff do? This is one of the items. Second is the purpose of this event is to enrich and show our artists in Glendale. So it's not to expand and show the general art, but also accommodate and support our local artists. So therefore, there are some fine definitions we need to come up with and define all those details. And I don't know how soon we can do it, but those are the things that we need to work on.
Commissioner Shurikan, one thing I can say for sure is that it is the job and duty of the commission to make the criteria of what it needs to be, and then the consultant would abide according to whatever the will of the commission is. But it is up to us today to decide and make a decision on that so that everybody is happy about it.
Let me make a suggestion. I think historically, with the exception of some artists who have been able to display their work in businesses and such, that one way of maybe clarifying is that if they're assuming that there's some sort of signed agreement or some sort of roster of those that sign up right through the consultant, that either they may that organization that signs up either as a business, a resident, a student, as you're defining whatever those lists are, whether other artists then go in underneath that gallery or show within that studio. They may not be the primary person or listing, but others aren't excluded. They just wouldn't have a direct agreement of some sort with the consultant. Would that be an easier way to?
May I express one more opinion?
Sure, of course.
As long as the experiment of art, the creation of art, is within the city limit, I think that will bring up a new mentality. If we have a kid or an artist living in Burbank, Tahanga, Pasadena, but their artwork is created in Glendale, that means we are building in the environment and the area for those artists to come in and create. And in my opinion, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking the artist who lives just here, but also who creates the art here. There might be a few studios, art classes, chambers, areas, warehouses where the artists combine together. They come up with the creation. I think that's more stronger than the artist living in Glendale. That's another point of view, those are... Go ahead.
And absolutely valid. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that at all. I just think it's harder to quantify when you're putting out a call for artists to participate. So is there then criteria, or is there more of our goal, going back to, what are our goals, what is the purpose of this, is to highlight the creation, the distribution, the promotion of art within Glendale, and that in terms of that we would encourage those that are participating in the Glendale Arena in some way to participate, but not put restrictions on it, but have it be a goal of the proposer.
So what's our suggestion? Do we let our staff bring up the idea, or do we?
That needs to be taken care of by the commission, because we are the decision makers here, and then staff would follow up to make sure that the consultant takes care of all the items as it was decided.
Can I ask a question?
Chair,
Yes.
Would it be helpful, if something was stated in this, that, if the artist works, lives, has on display art here, is a student, some of those criteria, would that, including art that's already on display in a gallery or studio here? And that would include, outside artists.
I think that sounds good, but if all the other commissioners also, I personally like that, but I need to see if everybody else is happy with that.
I have a question. So how many actual studios, or there are some artists who have homes that are part of this tour, right? How many actual studios and how many actual exhibit spaces are there typically? Or last time around, restaurants and things, what's the ratio?
The last time around, if I remember correctly, we had 180 studios that were listed on the map. Out of those 180 studios, there was another 40 or 50 artists that were using some of the other studios, or using restaurants or using other places, locations within the city to display their artwork. So that's how it came across the last time around. I'm thinking it should have grown astronomically by now. So I'm expecting over 400 studios to be open.
And studios
So there would be
defined as
studios are defined as their home. Some of them were in the garage.
right. So those are physically in Glendale. So I mean, there's no question about that. So maybe a quarter of them were actual restaurants or some kind of exhibition hall.
Less than that, less than a quarter.
Well, if the number goes up to 400, I suspect maybe then 100 would be, or maybe something like that, right?
Correct.
So those then, say 20%, yeah? 20% could then have possibly non-Glendale artists as be part of it. That would be
Correct.
sort of
It is a low number. It's a low number that's not a Glendale artist directly. The way I approached this was I go, since we're promoting artists, why not promote any location within the city? So if it being art related, and that's how I approached it. For example, having somebody come from LA, from Alhambra, or any other city, if they're able to persuade a restaurant to open up and let them display the artwork, I saw it as a win for the city still, because the restaurant is actually a constituent in Glendale.
So can I kind of summarize to see if I'm understanding it right? You're saying we want to promote art and artists, even if they're from elsewhere, if they connect with any businesses so they could have. You're saying that we want to say that we are promoting art and artists, those who create here, those who live here, those who share spaces here, but somehow their art is being created in Glendale. So one, promoting artists of the Glendale, art and artists of Glendale. The other one is promoting art in general and artists, and even if they can come up and share space from elsewhere. So we have two different views here. Commissioner Deaver, you go with which of the two, if I can make it? Because I'm clear on the two ends, but...
I actually don't have a strong opinion one way or another, to be honest. I mean, I think if you're promoting it as Glendale Arts, if there's a few artists in there who aren't from Glendale, I'm not going to lose any sleep for it. But if we want to be distinct about it and say we are, which I like the kind of litany of opportunities. Do you education, promotion, creation, exhibition, performance, some correlation to Glendale, but check that box kind of thing. This is how I participate in it, but I don't have a strong opinion.
And you?
Yeah, I'm not very opinionated about that, except, for instance, I think if we have some of these galleries, like there's a Silvana gallery, there's different galleries, then we would say we should prefer that those galleries show Glendale artists, right? So we could make that as a statement. So we prefer that they show Glendale artists and their art, because they may be representing artists from all over the world, right? So I think that would be something that we could say. And then restaurants, they could just, it's not...
Well, in a way, thinking about it, I think, in a way, if it's hotels and restaurants, they want to promote an artist. But in a way, we want to create a kind of a connection, a kind of collaboration between businesses in Glendale and artists in Glendale, or artists with all the wide definition that was made here. So kind of I'm more with Commissioner Sharikian in the fact that it should be something that is in any possible way related to Glendale, created in Glendale, promoting in Glendale, whatever, etc. in that area. So if you want, we could take a vote. Is that okay?
You could do that, yes.
Okay. So
let's just make sure what are we voting for.
Sure. So word it again.
Yeah. What are we getting?
I don't think you have to do a formal motion, but I think that you could at least get a consensus by asking where each commissioner their position is.
Now, could I ask Commissioner Deaver, who worded it beautifully as far as all collected for Glendale, but you said they promoted Would you go with that, and then we'll raise our hands to see how many vote by that? Which was
I can
Commissioner Schrems.
attempt that. I was kind of riffing off of yours, but actually, I have one clarification point before we do that, because my understanding would be that if we were to say, you have a business in Glendale, so you might be a gallery, but you could represent anybody. I mean, I would be reluctant to tell a gallery who they can be presenting on a particular day when we're having our event if they wanted to be listed. If they had somebody from out of town.
Well, it was just the idea is that you prefer that they, you're not going to you can't force them.
Yeah.
We want them to participate, but we prefer if they have a showing of Glendale artists, right?
Should do it.
So what I was going off of that would be that somebody who is educated in their art in Glendale, they produce their art in Glendale, they display their art in Glendale, they perform their art in Glendale, they create, did I say create art? Create their art, fabricate their art.
Excellent.
They run their business.
I go for that. So who else? Only I go for that?
No, I'll go for that too. I'm just thinking if we have anything to add or make it more general. That's
I think what you said
it's pretty
kind
good
of
general.
covered almost. That's why I wanted
Say
to say it, because I would have forgotten.
Did you say
it.
live in Glendale? Maybe they live in
Glendale.
Glendale.
We didn't say live in Glendale.
I live here, but I work and do my art elsewhere, and I qualify.
Yes, you do. Okay, so how many people go for that?
Aye.
I'm ambivalent.
Yeah. So,
Done.
It's good.
So we have
Bye.
consensus.
sadly, I'm not done with my list yet.
Okay, no, that's okay. We wanted to clarify one part.
I appreciate
one
that.
by one we'll go.
And actually, on that, I had a question. We are saying Glendale artists. We're talking about event talent, so there is a vagueness there which I appreciate. And I was just wondering whether, when we talk about artists specifically, if people start thinking these should just be painters and sculptors and photographers, and as opposed to any creatively involved. Those creatively producing, creative entrepreneurs. So just that we're not talking about just artists, which I think can have a different, I think people think about that differently than if you have somebody who's making some amazing craft work, but they might, I don't even like using the term craft, but they're doing costume design, for instance.
Or jewelry.
Or jewelry. And some people think of themselves as artists and some don't. And so just in terms of defining it for the
Or a designer.
Yeah,
Well-
or a designer, exactly.
Or an architect even.
Let me go beyond that. So we need to probably limit ourselves to visual art because there's performance art.
I would disagree with that.
No, I'm just
But-
asking do we limit ourselves? Or is it broad? It's all open.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I think it should be as broad as possible. But I think when we start asking a proposer to say, do an open studio tour for artists, it's like we're going to get all painters, and we're going to get people aren't going to be thinking about it, and even in promotion of that. But if we're talking about our design community, our creative entrepreneurial community, our writers, our dancers, and if we're talking about the creative community in Glendale and promoting it and asking them to solicit to those artists, I just think it's a telling.
Well, could I ask a question here?
The only thing I'm worried about there is
We have 1,000 applicants.
correct. 'Cause, like I said, starting off already,
It's going to take 2
artists
months, not 2
itself
days.
was over 230, and and those were actual artists that were in Glendale.
If I might, I don't see a problem with having more than less
Okay.
applied to that proposer. I mean, for instance, I've gone to Unique LA years past, and I found out there was a gal who's doing sort of vintage type of replica, cool stuff over, on the edges, outskirts of Glendale. I didn't know she was here. Somebody else is making some amazing makeup and designer types of things. I didn't know they're manufacturing here. I had no idea. But I feel like if a call goes out to who are our artists during regular streams of outreach, we're going to get the same artists, and I'd like to find out who else is in the wood.
Well, I would like to add I like what you're saying, but there's one thing, though. Performing art kind of, for even in 2 days, in whatever, for audience to be stopping there and watching what they do and go would be too short of a time. But with the rest of the issues, I do actually understand that they would have a display of what they do, they would have a display of what they have done, It could be, or the history of all the art that they have created, or the makeup designs that they have done. So that is something that a person can come in and within 2 minutes or 3 minutes of stopping by could do that. That is perfect, because that's also, to me, visual. But the performing is a little bit kind of...
May I add something? Even literature. I mean, that's something that it's art. Movie, there is so much that we can expand and enlarge our views. So let's not put any limits. I agree with that. Let's see what comes in, and then based on that, we'll have a 500-600 people list, and let the people, the Glendale resident, enjoy every minute of it.
Okay, fine.
I also agree to expand. I think literary arts, architecture would be very interesting. There's a couple of architecture firms in Glendale that I don't know maybe they do some really interesting things. So if we do have 1,000 applicants, then you pick 500, and so then it becomes more interesting, more engaging when you know that these 500 or 200 or whatever you select has been through some sort of process to select the most interesting and engaging ones, right? So then
the key there was to open up to all. So I'm not seeing that we should be limiting it at all. Once we open it up, I think whoever submits, unless there's something out of the ordinary that they're producing that's not appropriate, that would be the only thing I would not take an artist.
There's a concern to that. If we had a whole month or a whole week of art in our community, I absolutely agree with every bit of anything, literature and writers and all that. Architecture also, you can see, it's a visual kind of a thing. But if we had all that time and people could take a map, like you go to an expo and they would walk around, and today we are doing the artist, tomorrow we want to whatever, that would be perfect. But for 2 days and on a limited timeline of a beeline to be able to take the community everywhere and not to cause havoc with the traffic and etc., I don't know how we could accommodate, to broaden it to that extent. That, all the people who are our writers, we could pass by and say famous writer or whatever writer lives here and etc., the way we take tours in other countries. But to go and stop and the writer to talk about the books and variety of whatever he has done and etc., to me it needs more time. I would love it, absolutely. That's a fantastic idea, but that is an expo of art to me. It is not an open tour studio for 2 days with beeline, 3 shifts of beeline on each day and $15,000 for the consultant to be able to go through all the paperwork and to go and check on all the material and to accommodate community, so we will have a product that everybody is happy. To me, that is a little bit kind of skewed, but I don't know, that's how I see it.
Artist Week.
I raise my hand first. I want to.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
I agree with you. 2 days is not enough. But if we have a list of those artists, their information, their website, their emails, and phone numbers. So what we're doing, we're building an assets of Glendale artists. So if we hand that out thousands or few thousands to the public or put few locations, libraries. So what we're doing is building that rich environment for our city. And if I'm interested, a month later, I can call this guy or email him, and maybe 3 months later, I can visit his place. Oh. So yes, 2 days is not enough, but the work that will result this event, it's beyond the 2 days.
Commissioner,
that's something
I need to say something. That to have the list of all the artists and different forms is part of the criteria that Commission has had for a long time. And we were talking about the website that would have all that information. I have not followed up to see where we are with that, but we talked about the fact that if anybody within the city or any visitor comes in and wants to check all these places, we should have that information. And then Glendale Arts said that they have a website, so we were supposedly working together in conjunction, which again, with the change of the web situation and the new system coming in, I suppose it went on the back burner. But that is another project on itself, and it's a must. It's a must. We all have agreed before on the commission on this dais that we need to have it. But to have something half done, a little bit this and a little bit that, kind of, for 2 days, for limited line, beeline, I don't know, let's agree to see what we want to do. So that is part of the deal. We are having that. Okay. Sorry.
No, Steve was
nice. Okay, who's first?
I would then recommend Artist Week. We have Navy Week. We have all these other weeks. Let's do a Navy Week. But we stay with the physical art for the weekend for the beeline. The rest of the week we have it open to whoever wants to open and to include it in the list. That's the way I would see it.
Commissioner Deaver?
This way, everybody's winning.
That's interesting. I was thinking about your idea. I just wanted to add to what Commissioner Sharikian was saying is that I think if we look at this from a broader perspective, from a promotional perspective for Glendale, you want people from the outside going, oh, they're doing their open studio tour. That's cool. I'm glad they're doing that again. Or do you want them going, oh, wow, they have so much creative activity going on and so many architects and so many artists and so many people doing creative things. I had no idea. I wish I had time to see all of that. What a cool city. And to me, that becomes a partnership even with economic development, and we've moved this outside of we're in this box of the arts, and we start working a little bit more broadly, especially if we're looking towards wanting, which I think was in here, about the idea of accelerating this from year to year. And so I would prefer that it be all-encompassing, and I think that can be done. Now, with regard to the Beeline, maybe that is the studio component of the tour, but people can self-guide themselves if they have more of an interest in design or in clothing or whatever, assuming that would be categorized. They can go directly to those studios during those 2 days, and I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Well, I think that's an excellent idea. We talked about it also when we talked about signature event, if you guys remember. So this was part of the proposal that we made, but since that was postponed kind of for later on, if we could accommodate that the Beeline 3 days would take only 2 studios and all the whatever is immediate, and yet we would have a whole week that the community is ready to receive people who want to come and check and stuff. That was what we talked about, and we actually called it like Art Expo Week. If we could do that, that's a phenomenal idea. That helps businesses. It is good in every possible way. So that would accommodate Commissioner Lee's dream of open tour studio with the Beeline going to the studios, and meanwhile we could have community also prosper through the opening the gates much wider and making our place as a destination place. It's a fantastic idea. Any?
Yeah,
but
so
that
I
means
may be
change
the
our
lone.
budget, though.
I may be the lone wolf on this one.
It's okay.
But, yeah, I think from an audience perspective, I think if I was going to an open studio tour, I like to know that if there's 1,000 people on the list, I am totally overwhelmed and I probably won't go anywhere. Right? Because I don't know which one is going to be interesting, which one is going to be engaging, which one is going to be really the one that I connect to. So if there is a process in which they're vetted by people who are in the arts, who are commissioners, who look through it, and there is a consultant who looks through and picks the ones that are really engaging and interesting, then it's a better experience as a viewer. Yes, I understand, and it's good that we have maybe 1,000, 1,500 list of artists and of all shapes and forms and fields that we have that list, but having an open studio tour with so many on it, to me, it would be overwhelming as an art viewer, as a goer that I have to get on a bus and go here. I may just not go because of that. So I would say we need to vet the list and find the ones that are most engaging.
So you're talking about the quality. Yes, that is
yes.
Right. That could be discussed with the consultant, and also 2 commissioners are going to be on board on that meeting.
Well, no, but they're saying that there's no vetting. Everybody who applies gets in, type of thing.
Well, that we could rehash, but the fact is that for the quality and whatever we recommend, that could be discussed, because nobody wants just anybody who says, I'm an artist and does something is going to be there, and we are going to take people on the buses to see them. That's not going
I think
was
that's
not
what
the
it is.
idea.
Isn't that what open studio is?
Not really. Last time when we had 140 something, the person who was in charge, our staff person, was a curator. So she knew most of it, and she had an art gallery herself. So she had experienced almost most of the artists in the community. Then we didn't need a consultant. So in that case, with a different budget, different story. But the idea is that still it was also monitored as people who became the 140 something. So that we can get the consensus of everyone. But first, let's see if the idea is to open only to visual arts, or to have it for the business arts, or any form of the thing as a 1-week thing, and 2 days only for the bus to take people to the specific galleries so people could see that. Should we get the consensus of everyone or not?
That would be helpful, but Madam Chair, I think that it would I think it's already been decided that it would be a 2-day event, and I think we have to work within that. With that, I think it is important to at least tell the consultant what the consultant will be doing, as Chair Deaver originally brought up, whether this is just going to be visual arts or it's going to have another component to it, performance arts, literature, so that we can give direction to the consultant to think broadly or think in maybe one level.
Well, in that case, I don't know how we can do in 2 days on 3 buses all the variety of stuff and the time spent. Because, you know, when you go for different things to observe, you need different kind of time limits to be able to be exposed to the work they are doing. As a courtesy also, you know, you cannot just, okay, this is an artist or that's an architect and we're leaving. So 2 days would not be enough, I think, personally. With the beeline that stops and, you know, they drop and stop, so kind of it's all timed to be able to do all that was being said. So if that is it, I don't know, since it has been already approved up to this point that it should be 2 days, maybe we should keep it for the signature event in the future to make it like an expo every year, which I would absolutely love that. But if, since we have that limitation, so I don't think we don't need to even go to the extent, or yes, Commissioner Deaver.
I absolutely will not vote for something that is restrictive, just so you know. I mean, I understand that the 2 days is not enough, and I agree. Even the last one I went to maybe, 5 of the galleries. I went to Pasadena's art night one time, and I made it to like maybe 3 things. And I drove on my own. Not everybody takes the beeline. I do think it would make sense for the consultant ultimately to say the beeline, if that's arranged, which I also didn't actually see in here either, that would be part of it. That was another question I had, but that they might do, I don't want to say critics' choice, because I personally don't think we should get into judging art, curating art in that way, but maybe there's some select, maybe it's the actual standing brick and mortar galleries that they go to, or maybe it's a particular neighborhood where there's some go-home galleries, but I think it's more important to be inclusive than to be restricted.
So, but we have a direction as far as, let's say, the beeline would go only to the specifics that you could do on a short time and hop in and out, and then leave the community for the other ones that they would take their own cars and they'll drive personally based on their interest to follow up.
That's how I've done it. I didn't take the beeline last time myself, but I think that's something that the proposer, the consultant, would determine once they figured out how many people have actually brought in. How do they want to organize that in their promotions, in their program? How do they want to direct the beeline? What makes sense? And I think that's why we're hiring a consultant. But I think at this end, to say we're only doing, these types of artists, I think is just silly.
I have to add something, or at least mention it. This whole proposal came because we didn't have anything to do this year. A. B, we wanted to make a copy of 5 years ago what we did, to just duplicate, and hopefully we had more artists. So budget-wise, yes, we expanded a little bit, but my opinion was like we needed to do something within this year frame, 2015, and of course, definitely now we know that it's going to happen maybe in April of 2016. To define this tour, it's taking another image. It's not taking the previous image. It's taking more than just a tour. I would love to discuss this more and talk about it. I love the idea, but as Ara said, there are certain guidelines that we need to draw, and even if we expand to general art. But where do we stop? Who is the artist and who is not the artist? So there are certain questions that we need to either discuss it here, or we're going to delegate those discussions to the consultant and the commissions, the 2 assigned commissions, so they can come up with a census, bring up to us, and we would say yes or no, and we'll go on from there. So again, look at back a month or 2 when we decided to do this event, and we will limit ourselves within this year, but now we are extending it to all the way April 2016. The less work we put to organize this event and less restrictions, then we limit to a certain extent success. If we open our ideas and expand our views, then it will make more complicated, and I think it will be more interesting. As Ara said, we will have more interaction at the same time, but we need to limit ourselves what and what not to do.
Yes.
I don't think you can have both. I don't think you can expand it to allow all types of art forms, being architecture, design, literary arts, performance arts, and also not restricted. I mean, in terms of not having 1,000 people on 1,000 artists on the list. I mean, I think it's one or the other. We either limit to visual arts like it's been in the past and let everybody in, or we expand it and find the ones that really sort of represent something or are engaging, or in some way there's some criterion in which the person, the consultant, can sift through it, right?
Okay.
I mean, I think that's part of what we could charge the consultant with, is to say, again, if we were going to say the definition of artist, arts, creative business is broad, we have a limited time and limited budget. How would you, within this,
be able to accomplish our goals?
Implement this?
Right.
Now, whether that means that there's some sort of criteria by which that one would curate artists, I doubt that would take even more time, but maybe it's saying you need to either be displaying, X amount of work, or if it's not visual arts, they have maybe one sentence about what they will be doing that is engaging within the space. If it's a writer, maybe they'll be doing readings or they'll be selling their books. But I also think we might be overestimating. I think there's a ton of artists. I don't think every writer in Glendale is going to sign up and want people coming to their home studio to see where they write. I just don't think it's going to happen. But maybe a few of them will band together and do something, right?
I am not sure what that criterion is, but I think we need some kind of criterion if we're going to expand it. That's what I'm saying. And maybe the consultant is the one who's going to find out, which is fine with me.
If we have already approved today and the limitations the way we did last time, then I think these ideas are great ideas that we could kind of use it for the future. But if it is open and we can still modify it, then we can continue this conversation. Otherwise, I don't see any purpose in that.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, basing on what I've been hearing, one thing you could do, again, and we could put it, staff can put it in the requirements here, and put it up on a high list, is that they are to tell us whether it can be done in those 2 days and have it open to all artists or, a certain group of artists. So in other words, the consultant, as part of the proposal which you will evaluate, or the committee will evaluate, is, how they propose whether to open it up to all or some or a particular one. And I think that would, they could give you the justifications for that as well, from their experience, from traffic, from whatever. And we could ask them to, please, describe, their vision of this as opening up to all, some, or one.
Okay, so from what I understand, so we'll go with whatever we have as it's written. We'll have the consultant already chosen. The consultant would come to the commission and would advise us on possibilities. Then we would choose 2 commissioners to go in the committee to make sure that whatever was discussed has been implemented, right?
Well, I think that we could, if you wanted to hear the different presentations from consultants, but
not consultants. The consultant is chosen.
Oh,
would come and advise us on
as a group. Yes, the subcommittee would have already, narrowed it down to a recommendation for the full commission to consider.
So then they'll bring it to the commission.
Yeah, then bring it to the full commission.
To me, that sounds good. Fair. It seems everybody would be happy, basically. That's the idea. Everybody should be on the same page on this kind of issues, yes.
Just to clarify, Commissioner Oshigan, Ripsame, who was the curator, actually did do what you recommended, because at the Brand Library was only a selected few.
Right.
And that's how that was accomplished.
I explained that, I think, initially. Yeah.
So that...
Without mentioning.
So I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're all on the same page. So we could, as it's recommended, we agree to go with 2 days 15,000 with a consultant who would advise us on the details of how it needs to be opened up for different forms of our presentations. And then we can now choose. So we are all agreeing on that. So do we have to have a motion on the first part?
No.
So
It's just to advise staff that we should include a description in here that the consultant, needs to, in their proposal, needs to tell us, I'm sorry. Commissioner Deaver, no?
She hasn't finished
No,
hers.
that was a side conversation.
Okay, I didn't know you're shaking your head if it was disagreement.
No.
The consultant should tell the commission, what's practical, what can be achieved,
Consider expanding.
Given money,
and if it's possible.
Given, the geographical, everything, taking a lot of these considerations and advise, in their opinion, what they think that could be achieved on this one issue, on the type of art that could be displayed.
So, Mr. Grant, this goes with the additional explanation that is discussed right now, correct?
Yes, we would have staff put in one of the categories here, that they need to describe to us and explain, what type of art would be part of this open studio tour.
And may I?
Yes.
So in going back to, if we define more clearly the goals and objectives of the commission, might one of those goals be to be as inclusive of the arts as possible, but then their proposal would help us understand how they might get there or not? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
So we have both parts. First, that it should be all created, produced, displayed, all the stuff that Commissioner Deaver said, all in a nice kind of list of things should be there as well, because that is the volition of the commission. And the second part is the consultant would add on exactly how, with that amount of time and money, he could accommodate with the help of the commissioners who are going to be on board. Great. So we are done with that part? Yes.
With that part. Sorry, I'll continue my...
Sure. We need to make you come to all the commission meetings, Commissioner Deaver.
Sorry that I missed the line. It was a special meeting. I didn't have it on my calendar. So under event management, under C, I was just not seeing a reference to the coordination with the B line. We referenced it in the previous, that's how it's been handled, but I didn't actually see that they would have that as an asset. Whether maybe I don't know what that's something they'd have to budget for, or if it's something the city would be a contribution, but I just think that it'd be helpful for them to know that to the extent we know.
I think that was discussed, and last time Chuck might explain that has to come from the budget, from what was you explained. So I'm just refreshing.
Okay, thank you. So since I wasn't there, so it was something that we would help them. They would have to coordinate with the city, but they would have to figure out what the cost was as part of their budget. So that might need to be clear. If we have the expectation that there's going to be a bus, and they need to be clear that we have that expectation.
Yeah. So.
So under budget number 4, this is just where I ran across a reference to the meeting the event goals as stated above, and again, I just wasn't sure what the goals were specifically in terms of a headline for an area. It came up again in the evaluation criteria under number 7, the proposal meeting the goals and objectives. So I think that's better defined. That'll be much more clear. This was another kind of nitpick, but on evaluation criteria number 7, item E, creativity in proposal and narrative, I'd love to add to or replace creativity with innovation. It's a nitpick, but I just would like them to be innovative in their approach as opposed to just creative. And that was it.
We're on page 3.
What?
Page 3. What page? Yes. We're on the same page now.
So I think we are all happy on whatever we need to do. So should we go first to see of our commissioners who are the ones who are really interested to be?
Well, I think you could first propose a motion saying that, that with the modifications that the commission has made today, that you do approve the RFP to be issued.
Yeah, I thought you said not necessarily. Yes. Okay,
and then if you want to go on to the
sure, absolutely.
To commissioners who will serve.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I make that motion.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, so we are done with that. Thank you.
Roll call. Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Sharikian?
Yes.
Oshagan? Mm-hmm. Chairperson Derhovan-Essian?
Yes.
That's a new way. Mm-hmm.
That's an artistic way of responding.
Okay.
In Bulgaria, there could be
Now
negative
we go
response.
to, okay.
we
From
pick-
our commissioners who are absolutely, Commissioner Lee, okay, one, definitely. And then who else would like to be on that? And I would like to, if nobody else proposes, maybe nominate Commissioner Oshagan also, because this would be new to him and it would be a little bit too exciting and challenging, kind of.
Yeah, all right.
So one from the very old and one from the very new, on the dais. I'm not talking about age. So we could. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. Should I?
Let me think about it.
We need a motion for that?
We need a motion on that. Do I have a motion on that?
I move the motion to assign Commissioner Stephen Lee and R. Oshagan as a help to our consultant, or part of the committee, subcommittee.
That sounds very good. Okay. So
Select, yeah.
select.
Okay.
the
Just so
consultant. Okay. So are we done? Yes, it was seconded.
I'll second it.
I saw your hand. I thought you already. Okay. So we have got that motion
Roll call.
approved.
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Commissioners Deaver,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Shirikian,
Yes.
Oshugan,
Yes.
Chairperson Hovhanessian.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Next item.
Item B1, update on You Are Here, temporary art in public spaces. Water Finds a Way by Chris Gontus and William Stranger in Perkins Plaza at City Hall between the Perkins and MSB buildings.
Chair Hovhanessian, Commissioners, this is an informational item and does not require Arts and Culture Commission action. I gave you a packet that includes the artist's description of Water Finds a Way, a proposed sculpture created for consideration to be part of the You Are Here temporary public art program. The sculpture is a community labyrinth constructed of salvaged wood, metal, additional organic and reclaimed materials, and it is proposed that it sits in Perkins Plaza in City Hall between the Perkins and MSB buildings for 2 to 3 months. They propose it being installed in August or maybe September of this year. You've already allocated funds related to installing, maintaining, and removing this installation. We've worked with one city department. We're working with another city department to make sure all the necessary just the construction and how people will interact with it, to make sure that that is acceptable by our city, say our risk management department in terms of liability. So that's something that's still we're working with city staff on. But you have the description in the location and the rendering.
Question.
Sure.
So the artists are Chris Gontus and William Stranger?
Mm-hmm.
Do we know what other works that they have done?
I do not have any other information from AFTA Productions about that, but I can get it.
I'm lost as far as exactly where it is.
Where we parked the car on the way here?
In that area?
In that corner.
But, so they're going to take the other planters and all that stuff and open that space?
No, it's open. It's where the Christmas tree normally goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the pages has
Okay, from the other side open, gotcha.
has a circle, and that circle is where the Christmas tree usually sits, and so then that would be in that area.
Just to clarify, no water is being used. It's just the illusion, right?
I think it sounds like water.
Yeah, sound
It
and
doesn't,
light. There's no water.
Sound and light. There's no actual water.
Correct. That's what I'm seeing, but I wanted to confirm that because in this state that we are in, if we start putting a water feature out there, I think we're going to be in big trouble.
Correct.
Actually, one of their points in putting it together was to draw that officially at the end of the summer.
That was nice presentation.
I did have a question about the previous, the RFP. Should staff finish the RFP based on the comments and the instruction and move forward, or yes? We don't need to bring this back in July? No, okay.
That sounds good.
Have the green light.
No, it's already discussed. So
Wanted to clarify
it is
that,
already
yeah.
approved, and it's already first and seconded, so we are fine. I don't think it needs to come back.
I have a question regarding this Water Finds a Way project. When going to happen?
If they can get it, all the, everything done the way they want it, August. So the Christmas tree, I believe, is still scheduled to go up in the plaza. So it would go up as soon as they could get it up, August, maybe September, and stay there until the tree.
End of November, December.
End of November.
First week of December.
I have a question also. So this space is Parks and Recs?
Oh, this space is Public Works.
Public Works.
It's
So
this
they
whole
have
complex.
already the permits and the okay from Public Works, or
They've
what stage is
discussed
this
it with Public Works, yes. And they've been given the green light. So there's still some more things that need to be worked out.
Are we still going to have the Christmas tree or no more? We
I don't know. I can find out, but
We don't know for sure, but I know that either way, this will be down before the tree would go up, right? I understand it correctly.
yeah, that's the thought. They're planning this based on the Christmas tree coming in.
Yeah, because sometimes, of course, I don't know if this is pertinent to this meeting or not, but there are times that beautiful things or artwork is created, and then one thinks that, okay, well, if the money is already spent, why not to keep it if it's a beautiful kind of piece of sculpture or beautiful piece of work that everybody loves and community loves, why not to keep it? But I don't know if that's pertinent to this meeting, but that I could discuss later on with authorities to see if we can make that happen, because to me, wasting money would be a major thing. Now, if it is not, then we might be even happy if it's gone. So we'll go based on how it really would look like when it's done, finalized. Okay. Could we go to our next item?
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Any comments?
I had a question.
Yes.
Last meeting we talked about those planters that were on brand, and I wanted to. Is that another agenda point that I'm missing, or is this the
It's
place
not
to
an
ask?
agenda point. I did want to bring that up under staff comments. I did
Okay,
a little
yeah.
bit of searching on that. So in May, brought that, asked about the origin of the flower statues on the corners of Brand Boulevard. The petunias were commissioned by the Downtown Glendale Association for a springtime public outdoor art display. And this, the Downtown Glendale Association is a nonprofit organization appointed to manage the Downtown Community Benefit District. It is governed by state code and overseen by the city's Economic Development Department. Its functions include cleaning and beautification, security, and district identity within the boundaries of the district. And the Downtown Glendale Community Benefit District has a 7-year term that commenced on January 1st, 2013 and expires on December 31, 2019. They evidently have a number of these beautification projects planned. So one of them was the petunias.
Chuck, thanks for the information provided.
May
I don't know, comments regarding that, I suppose, sure?
Yeah, well, I think we should collaborate with them, have either one of us go to their meeting or invite them to our meeting, because this is certainly overlapping in terms of what we want to do here in Glendale, and there's absolutely no reason why we should be doing it completely independently, right?
Yeah, we talked about that last time as well, and it was decided that Cindy Cleary would clarify. She has been in process about that topic, and whatever could be done or not, that would be discussed by her when she is here next time.
Madam Chair, well, if you want to set this, we could set this as an agenda item to have further discussion, whether reaching out to other organizations, to work, with the commission. But during staff comments and commission comments, we can't have a discussion going back and forth. But certainly, it could, if you decide to bring this up as an agenda item, we can prepare a report.
So should we put this on the agenda for next time to be approved?
Yes.
Okay, everybody is in consensus?
Then let's talk about general working with other organizations, not specifically this.
Of course.
Yeah,
that's how Mr. Grant put it. That means
sounds good.
Anything that has to do with beautification or visually, that is to kind of embellish or to project City of Glendale, organizations could be in touch with the Arts and Culture Commission, so there will be a kind of an understanding between the commission and the businesses on what we should have on display, I suppose. So if that is put on the agenda, that would be great. Thank you. That's the request of the commission.
Can I have one more?
Yes.
Do we know what their future projects are? Do you have any information?
No, I've reached out to them. I haven't heard back yet.
Is it possible to know who's on that commission? Is it?
There's no commission.
Or they're the
Yeah,
downtown?
they're a very public entity. It's
Oh yeah. Okay.
I have a question or a comment
Do you want to?
regarding this.
Should I prepare something that, or do you want me to bring somebody in from the DGA or?
You can have discussions with the chair on this item and
Yes. We can talk about that
Okay.
later on.
All right.
Was it today or yesterday? I noticed that there is a presentation at Alex Theater regarding the Freeway 134 covered at 1.3-acre park. I don't remember the date. Anybody knows? Is it June 20th or 21st?
I think it's the 25th. I think
25th,
it's next
June
week.
25th.
Could you check and email us?
Sure.
Yes,
That
that's
would
an
be great.
interesting presentation. I mean, we can learn a lot from that.
Space 134.
Yes.
So that would be checked, and we'll get
Email.
it all of us on the email.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I
Yes.
do have another. For those art lovers who were at the Adams Square Mini Park, the California legislature, the Assemblyman Mike Gatto from the 43rd District gave the commission a certificate of recognition. If I may read this. Art in the Park, Glendale Arts and Culture Commission's series of art exhibitions. Congratulations on this outstanding event. I commend your commitment to showcasing your talents through visual arts while contributing to the dynamic, creative community in the 43rd Assembly District. I wish you continued success and fulfillment. Presented this 13th day of June, 2015, Mike Gatto, Assemblyman, 43rd District.
That's wonderful. I want to share a few words on that. It was a fantastic presentation. I'm very proud of our Commissioner Deaver, who was our delegate on that committee. And not only she took care of the artistic part of the deal, that, choosing the artists that were there, she also participated with the Adams Square community group that they got together to organize the event, and meticulously she took care of every detail with her group groups, but of course, because I know her very well, and we were in contact all the time. So she did a fantastic job to make sure that it's a successful event. There were lots of people, kids and parents of all ages. There were community people, there were artists, and it was a fantastic. And Mr. Chuck helped me in emceeing the event, and it was a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. They had organized nice ice cream talk with puppets, so for before and after to accommodate younger kids. And then there was polkas, pierogies, which was from heaven, as Arlene Vidor, who left us, was kind of mentioned. It was fantastic for the adults who were there, and it was a wonderful evening. It was so good that many people who were new to this country, they were so excited. They came to me later on and asked, what is our next presentation? They thought we are going on in the parks and continuing doing art exhibits and talking to the people, so they wanted to see what's the next agenda. So it was wonderful. So, and we were very honored that Council Member Laura Friedman and Paula Devine were there. And they were all with their encouragements and great words, and just by their presence, they made it a thing. So it was a beautiful community event, and I'm very proud that we have from Mike Gatto. Commission was acknowledged for all the work. And needless to say, our staff did a phenomenal job in putting things together. And also I need to mention Ms. Hala Shanuda, who is the library person in the Adams Square Hill, who was there kind of to make sure that everything that the commission wants is there, from putting where we put our purse, and if we need the microphones are working and everything else. Thank you very much, making it a family event. We all felt, presenters, people who were there, community members who got everything together, the Adams Hill Association president, everybody it was like a family event. And I really, really enjoyed myself, and thank you, Commissioner Deaver, for being behind it and making sure that everything worked. Thank you. Okay, next, anybody? Oh, yes, we have the major issues going.
We have some functions coming up. Want to invite everybody to Los Angeles, to Echo Park, for our 35th annual Lotus Festival. That'll be July 11th and 12th at Echo Park Lake in Los Angeles. We are bringing back the dragon boat races. So if anybody's interested, you can contact Los Angeles Department of Recreation Parks. Then leads me to our newly elected Honorable David Rue for Council District 4 in Los Angeles. He is having an inauguration ceremony at City Hall South on June 28th at 5 o'clock, from 5 to 8. There'll be free entertainment, and he is the second Asian American to be on the Los Angeles City Council, to my knowledge, and he is the first Korean American. So please come out for that, and come and join us for the Lotus Festival. Thank you.
If we don't have anything else, we don't have any written communication, so hence we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.